Thank you, Henry. I got my paper. Mwamzali Shiribwa. Anyway, at one time along my lifeline, I was the Honorary Secretary of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and I was the longest serving, I think, according to what Jen says, and I used to be called the scribe at that time. Then I changed hats. At one time, I was actually the head of mechanization in the Ministry of Agriculture. I left. My tour of duty took me to Ministry of Energy, where I was the director of renewable energy. Before I actually packed my bags, and now I'm at home, but still alive, and so forth. I believe that thou shalt love thy neighbor like thyself. That's why we're here, so that we can share some ideas. Mine was just to give you some thoughts in terms of what is the attraction of renewable energy to Power Kenya now and beyond. I'm sure you must have seen, someone is still showing my face there and I'm moving, but you must have seen some of these, what is the capacity that was generated, I think in March 2023. We're talking about geothermal, generated 509, and all the rest in total in March 2023, we generated 995 gigawatt hours. But the question is that the energy direction in this country, thanks to what's happening all over the world. And what is happening over the world has given Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC, the hungry to increase its tariffs with the help of EPRA. And I'm sure some of you are crying when you see your bills. Isn't that? And that's what is happening. So the attractions that are taking place, you must have seen this picture at one time where the president was inaugurating he was launching the e-motorbikes in Mombasa. Why is he doing that? When we are talking about e-mobility, basically it's just electric mobility refers to the use of electricity to power transport locomotives as an alternative to fossil fuels. So what is all this fuss all about? The whole fuss is all about the commitment that the Kenya government has made to reduce the carbon footprint under the Kyoto Agreement. And therefore, we are looking at reducing the greenhouse gas emissions as part of the ambition. And this will improve the air quality, decrease the fossil fuel dependency, and boost the energy security. Now, recently we had the Africa Climate Summit, and the president drove some little thing, that little thing there. He drove it all the way from State House to KICC. And it's rare for a president, to be driving a small Mini instead of the Gazellas that, we are normally used to see. Now, that was a statement that the president was putting onto the forecast to deliver and a commitment to reduce the carbon footprint when he came out from that little vehicle. Now, that vehicle is called the Air EVA2. That's what it's called. And someone has mentioned here that our engineers are not, we meet and we talk, but when we go outside there, we leave others to do the work. The CEO of this company that's producing this little car that's called Air EVA2, she's called Joy Kalua, and she's an economist and a statistics graduate, and not an engineer. And this vehicle is going to be produced in partnership with some Chinese. The reason why the Chinese came in, because he realized someone talked about numerical control machines, complex, but it cannot do the kind of works and as quickly as what the Chinese are able to do. And therefore, there will be a partnership, especially with the Kenya vehicle manufacturers in Thika, to produce this Air EV yetu. Now, when we now start having electric vehicles, we'll end up having smart charging for those vehicles. And you know, some of you are aware, when you have ferried your passengers and you are moved from your house to the office, what happens to the car? You park it for most of the 90 or 95% of the time. And you know the kind of wars that we have had in Nairobi with City Hall when they tried increasing the parking fees. We say, why should we increase our rates because of the parking fees? So what do we need to do when now we're talking about the electric vehicles? We need to democratize the car ownership. Now, if these vehicles are electric, then they would potentially add value to their owners and to the environment. How will they do that? We charge the vehicles using all kinds of, when the cost of electricity is low and cheapest, that's when we charge the vehicles using the renewable energies. For example, solar is plentiful during the daytime. And then, later on, we can actually discharge the power that we have that are in those vehicles, and therefore the EV car batteries can benefit from the charging, and then they feed the grid during the peak demand. In other words, the vehicles, the fleets of the electric vehicles will act as a giant battery to store and supply renewable energy. If we look at the high power tariffs, security lights in single dwelling homes, many people and many of my friends, when I left the tour of duty in government, I went back to my home in Nakuru. That's where I live. And all my neighbors have switched off their CCTVs, cameras, and they have also switched off, the floodlights that they are using, in making sure that the security in the homes is appropriate. And they have turned onto solar street lighting. We heard my friend who was talking about water pumping, both for deep and shallow wells. And then we can also address food security in isolated areas where we can have mini grids, especially from renewable energy, for irrigation and so on. Have you ever wondered? Have you ever looked at the cooking that takes place in the rural areas? Over 75% of the bioenergy in Kenya is generated from traditional biomass. But we should encourage environmental protection by reducing the environmental footprint. And that footprint is the one that, when the president is coming in with the little vehicle, EV yetu, then we want to reduce our environmental footprint. So in the homes, we are talking about clean and fuel-efficient cooking appliances. If you go to the supermarket and there is a cooking stove called Kuni Okoa, all right? It has been shown that it saves both time for cooking and fuel procurement. It allows efficient, clean, smokeless cooking, and it also improves safety. So, the question is, why? That is food for thought.